Well, my friends, I'm lucky to say I have Laurie Lewis and Tom Rozum with me. Welcome to Sudzin Country.
Well, thanks so much.
It's great to be here.
Great to have you on the show, my friends. You're a California fiddler, singer, and songwriter, and you're California.
Oh. I live in California now, but I'm originally from Connecticut.
Yeah, I read that. New England, boy.
Yeah, right.
Via Arizona.
Exactly.
Am I correct in saying that? Let's talk about your live album. That's something new now.
Yeah.
Talk to me about it.
Well, we just have a great band, the Right Hands,
Yes.
with Tom and Craig Smith on banjo and Todd Phillips on bass and Scott Huffman on guitar. And I thought the band was so great, we ought to just see what would happen if we recorded a couple of 3 gigs live and see, just do a really good recording and see what happened. And there's so much good stuff on it. It's got 18 cuts. I think it goes as long as a CD can go, 79 minutes or something like that. So we got a lot of good stuff out of that.
Now, how does that live album differ from the previous album? You've recorded a lot of previous albums. I think you had 12 albums before that or something?
Well, probably something like that.
Yeah,
I don't
vicinity.
track, yeah.
Give or take.
Well, obviously it's live, so that's different. But it also, we did a lot of sort of our requests, aside from doing songs that are fairly new to our repertoire. We kind of went back in the archives and pulled out our favorite old stuff.
All right, how far?
I was just going to say, every time we make an album, it's like a snapshot of what the band sounds like on that day. So here you have a snapshot of like 18 songs as opposed to just just a few.
Yeah.
And so we've even though we have recorded a lot of these songs before. We've done them with different players.
Yes.
So this is how we did it that day. Because a lot of times we record something and then we're playing with somebody else and they learn how we did it on the recording, and we don't even do it that way anymore.
Yeah, it's really true. The music tends to morph after we do the studio recordings. And so many of the songs that we did on live are done a little differently than we originally did them.
Well, you had different players 30 years ago. Going back in the archives, I can presume you're talking 30 years ago?
20.
20 years ago?
Maybe 20, yeah.
Well, all those songs go back as far as you were with the band, with Laurie. Or before Laurie. Before Laurie.
Yeah, probably.
About that 1986.
That's when I first started.
With Grand Street.
Right.
How did you get hooked into this music, Laurie? This bluegrass, folky, back into the late 60s, early 70s?
Well, people who aren't from California always wonder that. They say, well, there's no bluegrass in California. But the thing is, there's any kind of music that you want to get in, anything that you want to get into, you can find a community of just rabid fanatics of whatever it happens to be in California, good or bad. But there are lots of bluegrass musicians there, and when I first heard the music, I was a teenager.
Yes.
And I fell in love with it. I just loved it. And I went to the Berkeley Folk Festival at about age 14, and then when I was in my early 20s, I got taken to a place in San Francisco that had bluegrass music 7 nights a week.
Wow.
And I just hung out and played, and it was just the most exciting thing to share in that way that you do when you are playing in a band situation.
Well, bluegrass especially shares a lot.
It really shares a lot, yeah.
There's nothing better to bring people into a genre of music than bluegrass.
Yeah.
Rock and roll music, it's hard to bring a kids up into rock and roll. Bluegrass is a family music.
Well, I agree with that, and I also just love the way those particular instruments weave together to make the sound. The banjo, the way the banjo plays and the way the fiddle plays. There's all these notes, this big bed of notes, but there's no conflict. They just go together just like that, and then the guitar playing the rhythm and the great mandolin chop. It's just
you don't have to put your finger to your ears in this music at all.
Not usually.
No, not usually. Now, how did you get hooked into this kind of music, Tom?
It's kind of the same.
New England boy.
Well, right. It's kind of the same thing. Laurie and I are the same age, and I've noticed that this music, since I first started, that this music has its ups and downs. Depending on, for example, there was a big boost for bluegrass music in when the movie Oh Brother, Where
Yes.
Art Thou came out. I've noticed the first time I heard the music was when I heard the theme song for the Beverly Hillbillies on TV. Then also, I think like 69 or 1970, there was a big hit. Foggy Mountain Breakdown was a big hit on the radio. You heard it all the time on pop stations. So people started gravitating towards it. And plus, people our age, we're baby boomers. There are a lot more of us than any other segment of the population.
I'm in there, girl.
All right.
I'm in there, guys, with the same thing, you know.
Did you go to Woodstock?
No.
Oh.
No, I had to work that day. Did you guys go to work?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah. But anyway,
We digress.
well, no, not really, because when Woodstock happened, I noticed the music got more popular. I was looking for something that not everybody was into.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly like the rock music after it was happening around 1970 or so. So I was searching for something different. On the radio, I got to hear some old time bands play, and I just wanted to play that music. So that's how I got into it, the radio.
The radio. Well,
And there were more people. I moved to Arizona right after that, and I fell into people just like Laurie did in San Francisco right around the same time.
Well, you playing a lot of little bands through Arizona before you got up to California.
Right.
You got about the Summer Dogs.
Right, but in the same time, in the mid
Flying
'70s,
South.
right? He's showing off here. He knows
I
all
know.
our stuff.
How about the Rascals?
Rhythm
Rascals,
Rascals, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we met.
I thought you met in Grant Street.
No, we met when Tom was in the Rhythm Rascals, and they were based down in San Diego. They came up to the Bay Area, and they're a kind of a pre-swing band.
Yeah, we weren't. It wasn't a
from the
bluegrass
20s.
band.
Okay.
We had kind of mandolins, fiddle, guitar, and bass, but we played earlier music. But we needed a bass player for this radio show, and Laurie showed up. She made the call.
Well, in your solo album Jubilee, you kind of put in some bluegrass, old-timey Western swing in that album.
Yeah.
You kind of put everybody in there.
Yeah, that's kind of like my favorite music, except for rock and roll. I had to somehow.
There's no rock and roll in there
Rock
yet.
and roll in that, huh? Talk to me about that duet album you had out.
Well, we've got
Which
a couple.
one?
Well, the first one, the Oak and
The Oak and the Laurel.
I just heard you sing that song.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I heard you sing it. You guys put that together as a duet.
Yeah, what happened was Laurie and I were in a very serious car accident
I read that too.
in '94, and we came very close to death. And we said, we were talking about putting out a duo record for a long time. So we said, why put it off? So we just got out right on it. And it was really fun.
Good old persons. That goes way back that goes back with you, an all-female ensemble.
Yes,
You
we
broke
started.
some barriers, I read.
Well, back in 1974, that there weren't too many all-women bands.
You were one of the pioneers, according to Dan Hayes.
That's what he says,
Yeah.
and I suppose, yeah. Although, one of the things is I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and when I discovered the bluegrass community that was out there, there were a lot of women playing, and it didn't strike me as being an odd thing at all that I would want to play, and that it would be odd. It was only when I started going out and touring that I found out how really rare that was.
Wow.
To be, a woman band leader or something like that.
You're the one. Website for everybody. We're going to let you run.
I was just going to say. I'm sorry.
www.laurielewis.com. That's LAURIELEWIS.com.
Website?
Actually, my website is under construction.
Okay.
But
You can find out about Tom. You can find out about Tom by going to my
There you
website.
go.
Yeah.